Okay, great. So let's see what we have under discussion this evening. Just a reminder that if you wish to join in the chat, then there is the react. Is it the react button we want?
Yes, directly under the react button, there's a raise hand function.
Right, that's what we want. So if you want to join in the chat, then just raise your hand using the react button. And let's see what we've got this evening. Who'd like to start? Andy, hello.
Hi, Paul.
How you doing?
Yeah, fine, thank you. I'm thinking. You said something about needing some input, searching for input during well, life. You were talking about life, but I also feel that during my meditations, I've often that I think, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, not what am I doing, but expecting then things to happen, have insights, or sometimes it's a bit dull. I think, okay, there's nothing happening, there's no progress. And I do expect progress, and I do have I know what you're going to say, Paul.
What am I going to say, man?
Totally. Well, yes. I do understand that I'm then searching for something to happen. There should be something. I'm
But
expecting.
it is happening. That's the point. It's happening every moment.
Yeah.
What is it that we're trying to gain insight into?
Yes, seeing things, rising, passing away, see the change, transition, seeing noticing there's no self. I know that's what I'm also. I don't know what my question is actually, but I was just connecting with your introduction that I think,
Why is it that there is something rather than nothing? How come there are things rather than no things? And that's not an answer. That's not a question to be answered. It's like just putting a wedge in our complacency. It's trying to. It's just a reflection that, oh, this is actually happening. Why are we so? Why have we become so dead to the miracle that this is actually happening? And so people want progress. What do we mean by progress?
better understanding.
Okay, so how is that better understanding?
How that is happening?
How is it brought about, that better understanding?
I guess it's in circles, isn't it? It's by seeing more clearly, by noticing.
What is it that stops us from seeing clearly? What is it that stops us from noticing?
Not noticing.
What are we doing instead of noticing?
Not noticing.
Yeah, what are we doing instead?
Daydreaming.
Wanting progress.
Wanting progress. Yeah.
Wanting progress, daydreaming.
Craving. Yeah.
Just doing other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the very wanting that prevents the seeing.
Yeah.
So something has to be sacrificed. Something has to be surrendered. That's what I said at the beginning. It's like people have become so deadened to reality that they're always looking for, it has excitement, pleasure, stimulation, fulfillment has to come from something else. So we're always looking for the next thing. But we're not actually, we can't, we're too blended. We've got to take a step back and look at what is actually happening. So as part of my job, I have to try to inspire people to practice. One of the greatest discoveries I have made in looking at all of this is being constructed in real time. It is being rendered in real time. It's the most astonishing thing to discover. It's not all pre-formatted. It is literally being created moment by moment in its entirety. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the more we take a step back and we're willing, so something has to give. You have to be willing to sacrifice something. And it looks like you're going to have to include things like dullness and boredom and doubt, and choose to include them in the practice rather than being so blended with them that you believe them.
That's a good one.
Because life is astonishing. It's astonishing that any of this is taking place. And so we have to take a step back, sacrifice ownership of our doubt, sacrifice ownership of dullness or boredom, and be willing to keep watching what's actually taking place with the thought, why is any of this happening? It just takes away from that complacency. Sorry, carry on.
No. So actually now I'm realizing when I'm in my thinking of, okay, nothing is happening. This is the same thing over and over again. I'm in my thinking.
Yes, you're in your thinking.
And I don't realize that. Yeah.
And you're making the assumption that what you're thinking is true.
Yeah. True.
But I have discovered that no moment is ever repeated. That's so the discovery that no moment is ever repeated, as in you can't step in the same river twice and all of that, it starts to open up. The wedge is going in, it's starting to open things up. There's a crack in all our assumptions and our complacency. And we're going, oh, hang on, this isn't what I thought it was. Literally, it isn't what I think it is. What is it actually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Helpful. Thank you for your, putting your hand up and talking about this, Mandy, because it's such an important point.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because
helpful.
Yeah. Good. Was there anything extra on that, or do you think that's covered it? You're good, Mandy. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a general question.
Well, it is also.
Yeah.
What do other people think? Surely somebody has an opinion, or you want to push back, or what would you like to do? Giuseppe? No, life really is boring, Paul. Stop telling us it's not.
I'm not going to push back. But I just wanted to say I totally feel what Mandy was saying, and I totally get that. I think from my experience, wanting something better or exciting to happen is a yes, I know. And yeah, I just the same. Yeah,
it's not that those thoughts and sentiments shouldn't arise.
No,
it is the failure to include them. It is to be so blended with them. I'm repeating exactly the same point as with Mandy, but it's to be so blended with them as to not question the validity of the statement. The statement that life is boring. This is boring. And not including it as a meditation object. It's mental formation based in hatred. That's what boring is.
Yes.
And to be so blended with it as to believe that what you are thinking is the truth.
Yes. Yeah. There was also, sorry, yes.
So what else is it going to be if it's not this? If it's not the last thing that we are willing to look at, what is it? The repeat of something you've already looked at? Going to do it again?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the one thing that everyone's going, no, it can't be that. But all you're left with is just repeating all the tricks everyone gets up to anyway. What, you're going to make more money? You're going to, I don't know, visit more, go for more city breaks? What is it that's going to bring you this appreciation of the infinite mystery?
Yeah.
And the realization of the true nature of reality? Is it really going to be watching more movies? Is it really going to be like causing a revolution and changing the government? You think that hasn't been tried before?
I've been fantasizing about that recently.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Giuseppe, you're saying, sorry.
No, yeah, I have been fantasizing about changing the government recently and going,
yeah, exactly. To what? Can I ask? To what? What is it that human beings haven't tried yet?
Yeah.
So you literally only really do this seriously when you've realized nothing else is going to work.
Yes.
You have to surrender something.
Yes.
You have to sacrifice something. You have to let go of something. And and then the alchemy, the magic can start to happen. So you're willing to do the thing that part of you is telling you not to do. It's telling you, oh no, don't look at things arising and passing away. That's boring. Don't look at things arising and passing away.
Try and change them or something.
Yeah.
Or try and get involved.
Yeah. So what is it you've got to sacrifice?
Yeah.
It all comes back down to the same thing. It's self-concern.
Yes.
And yet there is a magic and an alchemy that some meditators have discovered, that when you let go of that self-concern, the self-defensiveness, the desire for things to be other, and you accept the dullness, you accept the boredom, you accept the frustration, irritation, desire for progress, whatever it is, and you include those as mental objects that are noted in the practice, and you see them arise and you see them pass away, there is this magic, this alchemy that takes place. You get interested. You suddenly start to notice that you had taken it all for granted. Such complacency. And you're going, oh, how come I haven't been looking at this? The Buddha's teaching's been telling me the whole time I've been associated with it, telling me exactly what's going on, and I've ignored it because of my demand for progress. And then you finally let go, you stop, you just look at those ordinary components of ordinary experience, and suddenly they're not ordinary anymore. They're deeply fascinating.
Yeah.
And you're not taking it for granted. There's no other way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Giuseppe.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Okay. I think Jason was first. Jason, hello.
Hi, Paul.
Hiya. How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, good.
It was just really I just wanted to repeat something that you said last time that I found really, it had a lot of legs to sort of to work with. And that was the thing of where you were sort of saying that the exploration is kind of what, it's fine however you're perceiving it. That's fine. You don't have to look to be perceiving things differently because you have an idea, that's progress if I can see things like I think they're supposed to be. But to work with what is naturally, and I definitely have found that to be it's definitely more enjoyable than feeling like you're missing something or you're not doing something right, or the doubts.
The thinking you're not doing something right, the sense you might be missing something, are all mental objects that can be noted. And so like I say, we're too blended with these things. We take them just to be so. We take that narrative to say something is missing. We take it to be so. I'm not sure I'm doing this right. We just take it to be so. We don't include it. And that's the sacrifice. The sacrifice is weirdly including those forms of self-concern and allowing the practice to be. So if you're noting things and there's a sense of despondency or there's a sense of anxiety about it, it's the willingness to include those qualities as being naturally arising states, not interfering with them, but looking at them. And I'm not saying that everyone should be getting this right from the very beginning. You just practice and you fall in lots of holes and you drag yourself out of the holes and dust yourself down and you carry on practicing. And gradually you start to see, indeed, I had been utterly blended with this doubt, so much so I didn't even really, I'm like a fish in water. I don't even know I'm in water. I'm so blended with it. And the doubt is finally looked at, addressed, seen, noted, and allowed to be there. It's not gotten rid of, it's allowed to be there as a mental quality, as a mental formation. And then it's possible to see that indeed, that is not me, that is not mine, that is not self. Yeah.
And another thing I thought of was that the actual thoughts of doubt or boredom or whatever they are can also be quite interesting objects in the sense of how they're put. There are lots of different thoughts and they're put together, how they form and put together. Themselves are quite interesting.
They are. The interest arises the moment we cease to identify with them and instead just observe them. And yes, there are different varieties and we don't need to become overly analytical, but we can linger with them, meaning we don't have to rush on to the next object. We can stay with the doubt and allow the doubt the room to express itself fully. It's almost like you treat them as like you personify them. Like doubt would be like this little goblin that's just whispering in your ear. So you kind of allow the goblin to whisper in your ear, but you are paying attention with mindfulness and clear comprehension in order to understand what it is that it's telling you, in order to see that it's not true. And that becomes extraordinarily fascinating when you're allowing all these apparently negative states. There's this wonderful transformation that occurs. So you have a state like anxiety, for instance, that normally you're so blended with, you believe utterly what it's telling you as to be so. That is the state of the world, along with the painful feeling, and the world is inherently painful. And there's this wonderful alchemy that can take place where you decontextualize what is actually unfolding, and you see that the narrative isn't really substantial, and what you're left with is, and this isn't, I'm not being strictly Buddhist in my terminology here, but it's like psychophysical energy that is neither good nor bad, because you've decontextualized what's going on, and that's what you're left with. And then you can recontextualize it, you can imbue it with a different narrative, and suddenly that energy is something very, very positive. And that's practicing the four right efforts. So you go from a apparently negative state, you decontextualize it, see that it's only this sort of like energy happening, and then you imbue it with gratitude or reasons to be happy about life, things to be grateful for, loving kindness, and you transform it, and it becomes something really, really positive. But that can only happen if you're willing to mindfully note it and allow it to be there in the first place. If you are, you can transform it, you can transmute it into something really beautiful. And that's practicing the four right efforts, isn't it? So.
Thank you for that.
So, but the important thing is that we take our time and we linger with these states, these negative states. It's only discomfort. It's all right. And it's through that process of unblending, getting a bit of perspective, decontextualizing what's going on, seeing it as a neutral energy, and then imbuing it with something positive, a positive narrative. What's going well? What's going right? It's amazing what you can do. Mind is very powerful. Thanks, Jason. Was there any other aspects to that, or is that?
No, that was. Would you say that in terms of identifying with a thought, it's the difference between sort of, oh, I'm really bored of this, and the difference between noting, there's a thought saying I'm really bored of this. Is that what you would say is the difference between? So it's like one is that you feel that you are actually bored, whereas the other one you can see the thought that's saying I'm bored, but you know that's not actually you.
Yes. Yes. It's simply that, and that comes simply from the thing that people don't want to do, which is just mindfully note it. So that, it's we're making it sound very clean, or I am. It gets to the point where it's very, very clear, but it can fool you, and one of the keys is definitely being able to recognize that there's the view that something's wrong. At this stage you don't know what it is, but there's just this overwhelming feeling that life is suddenly wrong, and you just reach a point where you, either by yourself or with the help of some guidance, you're able to recognize it as the quality of doubt. Once we've established that it's doubt, you might fall in the hole a few more times, or many, many times. You drag yourself back out of the hole and go, yeah, it's doubt. I fell into doubt again, didn't I? Okay. And it just gradually becomes clearer and clearer over time that that's exactly what it is. And then it becomes possible to remain with it. And yes, it's just, we're blended with it. Most people are so blended with it, they don't even know that it's doubt at all. They're just acting out of it. But yeah, you reach a point where you just take that step back and you include it, just as you would include the sound of a bird singing. And what I like to say is, it's like we're in a really difficult place if we really think that the birds are tweeting outside about us. If you think the bird is tweeting about you, then that is a terrible state to be in. There's a great paranoia. We don't realize that we essentially do the same thing with our own thinking. We take it seriously. We believe the narrative unquestioningly. And so you have to be prepared to say, well, actually, maybe just because I've had the thought doesn't mean that it's true. So yes, it's treating it as a mental object. It's not treating it as me or mine or the truth of what is actually unfolding. Yeah. Good. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Who else would like to contribute this evening? Sarah, hello.
Hello. Yeah, I just thought I'd ask and kind of clarify with that, because it's like some of us tend to be a bit idealistic, you know, one way or the other, right? And you're not saying, are you? You can't watch movies. I mean, that's not the point. It's that it's okay to have entertainment, right? But it's what you're doing. What's the motivation? Is it to escape a bored state of mind that you find intolerable, and the idea of meditating is awful at that time, or is it because you just fancy watching a, you know, half an hour, an hour and a half movie?
Yes. It's, you have to know yourself. The point I was making was that you really only, I think, it's certainly from my own experience, you only really entertain this training seriously when you have discovered the inability of worldly pursuits to provide you with that genuine, lasting happiness. It's not saying that they can't provide you with happiness. It's just that that happiness is limited, finite, has the nature to arise and pass away, and you're still left in this same position, this same predicament. So for a serious practicing meditator, they will practice moderation in all things. It's a middle way. It's not saying no, all these things are inherently wrong. It's saying they cannot resolve the problem of this underlying deep existential angst that were everything to go pear-shaped and the economy was just to totally bottom out and people's playtime and ability to watch movies endlessly and do whatever was taken away, what state would people be in? So these things are keeping people asleep.
Yeah, and it is.
But most people, sorry, just to finish the point, Sarah, most people want to stay asleep. They don't want to wake up.
Yeah. I've recently had the interesting chance to have broadband and, you know, the ability to join in with endless movies. And it's they actually use things like craving. They use these words to say you can binge watch as if that's positive, you know, and it's like, wow, this is really, it's quite dangerous mentally. It's quite it's like addictions, and you know, you're encouraging those unwholesome states of mind, and it's been done consciously by the companies. They don't probably realize quite how dangerous it is, but it's interesting that that's a thing.
Well, this is what we're up against as meditators, as practitioners, as people that are following the way. But as I've said recently, cleaning and restocking the bird feeder, I am following the way. Doing the washing up, I'm following the way. These things have, when you start to recognize, when you cease to just assume that you know all about sensory experience, and you lose that complacency, and you start to watch carefully through practicing mindfulness of body, through practicing mindfulness of feelings, through practicing mindfulness of states of mind, through practicing mindfulness of mental states of all kinds, you start to recognize there is this inherent fascination with life that doesn't require, it doesn't mean you can't watch a movie, doesn't mean you can't go on a city break. It means you no longer have to. It means that it's a preference, not an attachment. It's not like, well, if you take that away from me, I've got nothing. Well, I've got nothing. It's all ephemeral. It's nothing is the concrete thing that people presume it to be. And life, rather than becoming dull, takes on this quality of mystery.
Yeah.
So even the most mundane tasks, like restocking a bird filler, becomes something really quite beautiful and mysterious.
Mm.
And the milky light from the sun is bathing everything with just this most amazing texture and color, and you realize, well, I don't need anything else. Like the infinite mystery is exuding from every pore, from every atom, from everything. Apparent thing is imbued with infinite mystery. Who sees it? Because people need their entertainment. They need, so it's not saying no to those things. It's saying, well, where do they fall in the pecking order? Where do they fall in my priorities? And for a serious practitioner, it's saying, well, the way, the Noble Eightfold Path includes everything I do. Even just lying on my pillow waiting to go to sleep is an expression of infinite mystery. Brushing my teeth is an expression of infinite mystery. I'm just not seeing it, so I will pay mindful attention to it, which means I need enough space, enough spiritual, psychological, emotional, spacious place to exist in that I can actually give myself over to that. So no, I'm not going to turn on the radio right now. I'm not going to turn on the internet. Yeah. I'm going to actually spend this time just doing this.
And it does interfere, definitely. That clarity and that the concentrated states that show things as beautiful that you're describing. It
doesn't have to be concentrated.
Well,
it has to be not preoccupied.
Yeah, slightly more
mindful.
Able to be aware, and it can't happen if there's a niggling. Oh, I could watch that. I could watch that. I could watch that. And
but you see, this is where, what are you willing to include?
Yeah.
Are you including that niggling? Oh, I could be doing this, or I could be doing that.
Yeah.
And are you including the painful feeling of going, okay, well, I'm not going to do that?
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. Yeah.
And that comes down to, it's personal sovereignty as to whether somebody chooses that. But in my experience, all we're going to be doing otherwise is just repeating ourselves in some way, shape, or form. Once you've seen enough movies, for instance, you realize, they've all got three basic acts. They're usually very formulaic. There are some movies that work very well. But you've got to sacrifice something. You've got to surrender something. And again, it's a middle way. It's not saying you have to throw your TV away. It's just saying, okay, maybe there's a conscious, deliberate decision. I'm going to watch this movie. That is what I've decided to do. Okay, fine. You're allowed to do that. You have personal sovereignty. You go at your own speed. You do it in the way that you want to do it. But ultimately, if it is that your highest priority is to come to understand reality, and you see that there is no alternative to that because you've tried every other worldly thing you care to and they all fall short, then you choose to moderate. And when we come on retreat, no TV, no internet. Please turn off your mobile phones. I know you use them as alarms, and that's fine, but please don't use them otherwise. You choose to go without in order that you have that spaciousness, in order to deepen your awareness of the mystery, essentially.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And just the last thing that I thought came up talking to someone, and I know it myself, that if we've had a busy day working and dealing with worldly stuff, etc., that obviously there's tiredness that comes, but for me, it's similar, isn't it? That we can use that as a similar thing to boredom. The tiredness can be based in a rejection, so an aversion, and we don't see that, we're in it.
It's a misdirection. It's a deflection. It's a way of saying, I don't have to look at this. Oh, I'm too tired. I mean, you're too tired to just sit in a chair and mindfully note things. But you're awake enough to watch a movie.
Yeah.
So, again, personal sovereignty. I'm only guiding, not telling people how to live their life.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very similar actually watching a movie, isn't it? Because
It takes.
you can get in that right.
It's the best movie.
Yeah. It's just like, oh look, there's that character again, you know.
Yeah. No, this is the confusion. It's like everyone's got everything they ever wanted.
Yeah.
It's Sarah, thank you. I've got other people with hands up. Mandy.
Yes, I would just like to add a little thing to what Sarah said, but I think for me, it's not only the mindful noting that, how can I say, that's when it's more quiet, so when there's less activities, when there's less stimulation, it's not only for me, it's being mindful, but it's also the body that I think is feeling much better. The body is saying, if I'm listening to my body, it's saying, oh, this is much better, this is calming, this is quiet, and I'm feeling more happy and content. And so it's not only the mind. It becomes a bit rational when we talk about only being mindful, but there's much more in it, I guess.
It's undoubtedly the case that as mindfulness develops, what also develops is an appreciation that there is this effortless being, which is entirely benevolent. Our true nature it's like we have this, I don't want to get, again, I'm not using Buddhist language here, but it's like we have this radiant core, this golden pillar of just beingness. It's not a thing, it's just, as we get more concentrated, we're just noting things arise and pass away. We start to appreciate there's this lovely centeredness, groundedness, and it's truly delightful. And it is quite healing, and it's quite, it's sort of like allowing like the stresses and strains of life to sort of like pop and burst and be liberated, There is that quality. But again, the problem is we start looking for it, and the moment you look for it, you're in an opposite state. That's the problem. We're looking for things. So rather than look for, it's looking at things arise and pass away. But there is this burgeoning sense of abiding, which is very natural and peaceful and frankly lovely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also on the matter with like artificial stimulation is that if we're used to a lot of that kind of stimulation, the lack of it can be quite daunting. It's like quite a dramatic change of state. And generally speaking, we don't like changes of state. It's like getting up in the morning. It's just the change of state can be quite challenging. So you kind of have to manage your way through that by appreciating that there is discomfort with any kind of change of state. So from going from entertainment and stimulation to solitary, mindful investigation or exploration, it's quite a dramatic change. And so sometimes people, they don't want to do it because it feels like it's going to be so much hard work, when in actual fact, it's probably easier than watching a movie in some ways, because it is mostly passive, well, receptive. It's mostly, so you're abiding, just resting in the naturalness of being, not doing, waiting for experience to come to you so that you can note it. That's the perfect balance. Natalie. Thanks, Mandy, by the way. Natalie. No, you just turned off your video. Oh, there we go.
Oh, hang on.
You're right.
Yep, sorry.
There
Yeah,
you go.
hi, Paul. Yeah,
Hi,
thank
Natalie.
you. I was just thinking about the fascination, and it's interesting because fascination with, you know, what arises in one's experience. And it was interesting this morning. I was uh, doing a good old worry time. I was in the bathroom and suddenly my eye caught sight of this tiny, tiny spider suspended in the middle of the bathroom. And so I was completely arrested looking at it because I thought, how did it get there? Because I couldn't see any of the web or anything. I couldn't see any of the lines that it must have drawn to get itself into that middle of the room. And I couldn't move because I was frightened of disturbing, breaking up the web, the line that had given itself to get it to that place. So I just had to stand there and watch it. And then I sort of sent it a message saying, I think you better move out the way because I need to get to the door. And I sort of inched away and watching it, and then it suddenly went up. And so I could see where it was hanging from. And it was such a delightful interlude. And then I'm sorry to say I went back to my worry.
Oh, don't
But
be sorry.
well,
Just note it.
yes, no, exactly.
Even
I
in
should have
hindsight.
just have been noting, oh, here we go, some worry again.
Okay, so
And
this brings up something for me, which is a different
yeah,
way of looking at mindfulness. Loving attention.
yes,
Giving something your loving attention. Yeah. So in that moment, you gave the spider your loving attention.
yes, yes,
When I restock the bird feeder, I'm essentially giving the birds my loving attention. I'm giving that task my loving attention. It's got the qualities of loving kindness in there. It's got the qualities of mindful noting in there. And so when you fold up a jumper, fold it using loving attention. Yeah? When you wash a plate up, use the quality of loving attention.
yeah,
That will bring interest and fascination.
yes, yes, yes. It was lovely to be arrested like that,
Yes.
and then I realised actually, extraordinarily enough, I often do that with insects and plants. I talk to
Okay,
them.
so you do it with insects and plants. Great.
Yeah.
Can you also do it with anxiety?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
also do it with doubt? Can you
yes,
also do it with irritation?
yeah.
Can you also do it with joy, with tranquility?
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's great.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank
Do
you.
you see what I mean? This is for everyone. Do you see what I mean there? It's like loving attention. We learn to do it through practicing impeccability, of treating our external world with care, loving attention. And we start to find we can do that with the internal workings of our mind just as well. You treat anxiety as an esteemed guest. Let's not go with the goblin thing. Let's go with esteemed guest. Treat the hindrances as an esteemed guest. Ah, I'm so glad you came. Please take a seat. I'll go and put the kettle on. It's your willingness to treat things with loving attention. That's another way through this. Don't be in a rush to push things out. And the observation that sadly I went back into anxiety, nothing personal, Natalie, but just the idea that, oh, then I went back into anxiety. No. Can you transform your relationship to what you discover in your own mind, in your own experience? Can you treat these things with loving attention, the internal things as well as the external things? Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Steve, hello.
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So yeah, my question relates to whether it's possible to notice too much during a meditation. So kind of balancing choiceless awareness with noting. So from the perspective of, I think sometimes what I've experienced is I find myself noting too much. Well, it feels like I'm noting too much, and that can lead me more towards kind of being in a place that's more conceptual. And then I guess that feels a bit counterproductive in a way, because I guess where I'm in more of a conceptual kind of thinking or noting space, I feel like I've moved further away from maybe direct experience. So I guess it's, the question is, can you note too much? And if so, how do you reconcile that with choiceless awareness? If things are just constantly coming up, then do you choose not to note them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, good question.
Thanks.
We have plenty of material available to be noted. You could really say there is an infinite amount of information available in any given experience. So the possibility or the desirability to note it all is not there. All we need is a representative sample in any experience. And in any experience, there will be certain objects that stand out. And the way I guide people is towards the most obvious things, not the most subtle things. The most subtle things will take care of themselves. Just note the things that stand out the most, the most obvious things. It is everything has the nature to arise and pass away due to conditions. So every component part of experience is marked by transience, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. So we don't want to lose that, we want to retain that sense of simple being, that we're not trying to work things out. It's rather that we're just resting and allowing, being receptive to and allowing the most obvious aspects of any experience to make themselves known. And then we meet that. So if you're sitting in meditation and there's a rumble of a lorry going down a hill, that rumble is the most obvious sensory contact at that time, then we note that, and you can stay and you can linger with that experience. There's no rush. We're not going to run out of material. So you just allow the mind to linger with that experience, and then maybe other aspects, other components of that experience that starts to become obvious. Maybe it is where we have generally been aware of sounds, and then there is a moment where we become aware that there is the knowing of the sound as a mental object, which is hearing, which is ear consciousness. And we're able to include that and note that. Or perhaps we note that the rumble of the lorry coming down the hill gave rise to a painful feeling. And that painful feeling gave rise to irritation, perhaps. But we haven't chased it. We're not trying to chase it. We're just waiting. So it's a faith thing. It really is. It's having the faith to say, I don't need to know everything. I can linger with objects as they arise and allow them to impinge and impart their truth to me, rather than me trying to assert the truth of things upon the objects. Yeah. Does that help, Steve?
That makes sense. I do. Yeah, yeah, it does. Thanks, Paul.
There is nothing to solve. It's not a riddle that is solved by the intellectual mind. It's a ongoing exploration of experience. So that conceptual part of the mind is not going to be used so much. It just mindfully notes what's there in order to delineate what's there, in order to see it clearly, so we clearly comprehend that sound as a sound, the perception of a lorry as a lorry, the painful feeling as a feeling, the irritation as a mental formation. And again, I'm saying it very cleanly. The reality is it's a lot messier than that, but that's the extent of our intellectual inquiry, just mindfulness.
Yeah.
And it's having the faith to say it's okay not to know. I don't need to catch everything. I'm just looking for a representative sample of transience, of unsatisfactoriness, of non-self. So I got oodles of time. I got so much time and so much space because I'm not looking for anything. I'm just looking at whatever presents itself.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Steve. I just thought there, I've been saying this for 20 years and I'm still not bored. There's nothing boring about this. It's just the most astonishing thing that we've got everything you ever wanted life to be, you already have. Unbelievable. And it just takes a little bit of work, just a little bit of willingness to persevere, to endure at times, to go through the mill, go through the fire, but, and go through the complexity of all this. But you come out and life just, the other end, life just becomes extraordinarily simple and overwhelmingly profound. and yet at the same time completely empty of any of that heaviness and that sense of burden. Wow. And it's, I don't know if I've said this online before. I know I've said it on a Wednesday, but it's like the number of people in my time I've seen come and go. And it's like they're lost in the sea of suffering, and they finally find a raft, and they get on the raft. Say, oh, whew, this is going to take me to the cessation of suffering. Great, brilliant. And then after a while, they decide it's the wrong raft, and they jump back into the sea of suffering again. Which is like, oh, okay. No, goodbye, Paul. I'm going to look for another raft. Bye. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, it's the most astonishing thing. And I think a lot of the doubt, and we've discussed this before, but I think a lot of the doubt simply comes from people not believing it could be this simple. Just keep noting and observing transience in what you note. That is the way to realize Nibbana. That is the way to realize the infinite mystery. Jim.
Hi, Paul. This connects a little bit with what Steve said, but I do remember I go for walks a lot on city roads, and sometimes I watch cars approach on the road while I'm walking along the pavement, and I've asked myself what's going on, and I realize I'm seeing this car, but the minute I note that, I start hearing it, and then as soon as I start labeling the hearing, I start seeing it again. I flip-flop back and forth until this car passes me, and it's a purely audio object. And
So
I remember,
carry on.
I remember kind of tensing up about this because I was trying to pin it down.
Pin
I mean,
what?
I still do that now, but I'm calm about it now because I do realize I'm going back and forth between seeing this car and hearing this car. And that's
Seeing
all
shape and color.
Yeah.
Seeing shape and color, hearing sound.
Yeah.
Perception, car. And yes, it is being constructed from these various sensory impingements and the mental application of labels, perceptions. Yeah. And so it is a correct observation that, yeah, there is the arising of shape and color. When there is shape and color, there is no sound. When there's a rising of sound, there is no shape and color. They are arising in series. And the key is, like, even at the, you know, even subsequently, it's to slow down. It's to linger with that. Okay, so what's that telling me? Okay, I'm flip-flopping between, or there is the flip-flopping between different senses. What's that telling me? It's telling me that the senses are transient. Sensory information itself is transient, ungraspable. Does that help, Jim? So I think it's just slowing down in your reflection, stretching it out a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's why I am calmer about it now, that this is my experience. I can't make it anything else. And why would I want to? This is a genuine experience of audio rumbling of a car. Well, yes, the car is perception, but that sound experience and then that visual experience.
Exactly. And being able to recognize in ultimate terms that it is audio and visual stimulation and the knowing of those contacts, and that the perception car is another moment of experience, and that separation, that's what allows you to see transience. Because if we are still caught in the conventional mode of this is a car coming at me down the road, then it's a lot more ultimately that experience passes, yes, but the perception car does not imply transience at all. And so it's a lot more difficult to see the transient nature of a car than it is to see the transient nature of shape and color or sound, and perception as a separate mental operation that takes place. So that's why we need to deconstruct it, because deconstructing conventional experience down into its ultimates, into its fundamental building blocks, is what allows us to see, to penetrate through the appearance of things and see that it's all so ephemeral. It's all so, transient.
Yes, thank you. And on some occasions, I do notice as the car approaches, its shape changes. It's a different experience as it comes along.
Sound changes also.
Yeah.
Things do not repeat. They might be self-similar, but they will always, each new iteration will be different in some shape or form. And if it's different, it's not the same. It's a new iteration. It's not the former iteration repeating. It is a new moment of experience. There are no old experiences. Experience is always new. Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Thanks.
I hope that was helpful. I live in hope. No, I'm sure it was. Lovely to see you all. We'll get together again in a couple of weeks, I believe, but we'll send out an email confirming that. In the meantime, I wish you well with your practice, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks,
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Paul.